So it's the next morning now, and I got it all taken apart again, and I spent quite a bit of time just going over all the edges and making sure they were nice and smooth, and then I sanded both surfaces nice and flat, got all that little bits of rust off of it, because the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to paint it just to protect it, because it's made of steel, and steel, if it's not protected, it will rust when it's exposed to the elements. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to use Trem Clad. I'm going to use the color orange, just because I'm going to, I don't know, I thought it might look neat if I have the pickguard so that it's, this part here is white, and then this part down here is orange, just to make it look a little bit more interesting now that it's been modified. And now looking at it like this, after the fact, I'm realizing that this design of having this part over here plastic and this part over here metal is almost exactly the way that it's done on a Fender Jazz Bass. And this was something I didn't even, when I was, I came up with this idea of doing this, I hadn't even, made the connection that this was something that had already been done before. But it makes, it's so much the same. I'll show a picture of what a jazz bass looks like. So here's just two examples of jazz basses from Fender, and you can see, just like the one I just showed you that I'm creating, right down here, this part here is made out of stainless steel, and the rest of the pickguard is all plastic, and same with this one right here. So here's 5 more examples of jazz basses, how they all 5 of them all have that same idea, where this part up here is plastic, and the rest of it is metallic. And I didn't, when I started to do this project, I had no idea that what I was going to be doing was going to be transforming my P-Bass or Precision bass into a jazz bass like one of these. But that's how it's ended up turning out to be. So this is my painting booth set up. I've got my part, which has now been nicely sanded, suspended here from the string from this step ladder outside. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to spray paint it with my orange Trem Clad, and it's a nice, beautiful, sunny day. With this setup here with the step ladder, what I can do is I can spray paint it outside, and then my overspray, all it does is go on the grass. And then let's say that the weather changes, which it's kind of expected to do today. Then I can pick up the step ladder while it's still drying, and then take it over there into the garage and let it have some drying time in the garage. But doing all the actual spraying out here, because I'm going to do a few coats. So after I've done the first coat, I'll let it dry for a few hours, then I'll come out and do another coat. So the way this works is I've got a pencil here, and I've got the string tied to either side of it, and I've got the part suspended from that center hole there, so I'm able to get spray paint over pretty much every single surface of it, except for that little bit there in the hole, which is going to be covered anyways, because that's where that's where the volume knob is going to go. So I'm just going to do my first coat of orange Trem Clad on here. So that's good enough there for my first coat. It's always a good idea to put lots of thin coats as opposed to thicker coats, because the thicker coats will run. So I just put a thin coat on there. I'm going to let it dry for a few hours, and then I'll come back and I'll do 2 or 3 more coats. So there's sort of an idea of what it's going to look like. Don't have it all together yet, but I've got the paint on here finished, and I'm pretty happy with it. I actually ended up doing 4 coats of Trem Clad. I just wanted to make sure the paint was nice and thick, so that it would be pretty hard for it to get scratched. It's pretty much dry now. It's a little bit sticky, not really though, but very close to being dry. So my next step here is now to cut off this part on the pickguard of the white one, so I can assemble it and put it all back together again. So while I was waiting for this to dry a little bit more, I just spent some time cleaning up all the surfaces, making sure the fretboard was nice and clean as well. I took the strings off, even cleaned those up a little bit too. But now I'm ready for reassembly with my new part. As you saw, I used that utility knife for cutting this off here, and I think I did quite a good job. I decided not to use a hacksaw for that, just because I know the nature of this material, and I figured, you know, with all the vibrations that were going to be caused from using that hacksaw, probably something would crack off in doing that, and it wouldn't make a very straight line. So all I did was just kept going over and over it again with the utility knife, and I ended up with this really nice smooth surface here. A few little rough spots that I just cleaned up with a file, but now it's great, and it's all ready to be mated together with this part right here. So I'm going to put this guy on first, and then I'll put this on right after. So that's what that part looks all installed and finished. I just still got to put the knobs on back here. But other than that, that part's pretty much all done. One thing I didn't mention earlier was I actually countersunk these holes just because of the type of screws that it uses, and needed to be countersunk so it could match with how these holes over here are. And anyways, I'm really happy with how that works. Before I put the white piece on, I'm going to actually just take this upstairs quickly, just test it out and make sure that all this wiring is still good, because it's it's come in and out lots of times. It's possible that one of the soldering joints came undone or something, but I'm just going to check that, and then I'm going to finish assembling it. Yep, everything was good on there. Time to put this guy on. Fits in there just like a glove. Excellent. So there it is, all finished and looking awesome. I'm pretty happy with the final product. I think it looks, pretty professional. I like the color choice I made and the paint job. I think it blends really well with the rest of the bass, and I know that really the main goal was, functionality, that it's going to be a lot more durable than it was having this piece being made out of metal. But anyways, the only thing left to do is just to try it out. Alright, here's my test, so I'll plug it right in. My volume still works and everything. My tone still works. Let's give her a test. watching me work on this project. Stay tuned to my music channel, CJ Hoyle Music, to see this bass in action. Thanks for watching.